Hey y'all, hey, it's your girl Morgan Renee tuning in for another reading of Storytime with More Am I, Trying to Sleep in the Bed You Made by Virginia DeBerry and Donna. We're in the last chapters. We're on chapter 23. If you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please go and do that. Morgan Myers, spelled M-Y-E-R-S, no extra E's, there's only one. You'll see a red logo with a yellow M inside, which stands for my brand, More Am I, because you're going to want more of my education, entertainment, and reading. So y'all make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and stay tuned to my upcoming readings and check out my past uploads. I'm sitting very uncouth today. It's hot out here and I'm gonna breathe. So we're in chapter 23. Ain't no room for you in between the rock and the hard place. This stuff is worse than spaghetti. Vanessa turned up her nose at her plate. Sit in that chair and eat your chili, Gail snapped. For ease and economy, she had found that Tuesday's meatloaf with tomato sauce and spices made Wednesday's spaghetti. Add some kidney beans, and it was chili con carne over rice on Thursday. You eat good every day. Loretta patted Vanessa's hand. May not be fancy, but it's good, wholesome food. Your mommy is doing the best she can. Gail got up and opened the freezer door for some ice so Vanessa and her mother wouldn't see her wiping their tears. She was dog-tired and worked every day to bring order to their new lives, but she couldn't even relive the daily unpleasantness. The time when she could repay her mother and restore Vanessa's career life was too far off to see. With the freezer open, Gail lingered, relishing the frosty cloud that billowed into the steamy kitchen. The August heat was stifling, and even if the air conditioner in the living room actually worked, Gail couldn't afford to run it. The apartment's puny windows, one-to-one room, meant there wasn't enough breeze to move the shears, so box fans whirred nonstop. Some evenings she'd come home and her mother and Vanessa looked so wilted that she felt guilty because she worked in an air-conditioned office all day. Summer vacation was miserable for Vanessa. She was used to a yard, her friends, riding camp, tennis lessons, and her own pool. Now she sulked and watched TV with her grandmother most days. And when Gail told her daughter she went into 6th grade at the school down the block, Vanessa didn't speak to her for a week. Loretta had been right. Vanessa had no idea what sacrifice and hardship were, and she wasn't adjusting well. Gail shut the freezer and reclaimed her seat at the table. How can I tell her there'll be no dance class come September? Hold on, let me write this. And let me move it up a little bit. I'm outside and I kind of hear the noise from the street traffic that's over yonder, so let me bring y'all a little closer. I hope y'all can hear me. All right. Hope baby ain't taking it good. So Vanessa had no idea what sacrifice and hardship were, and she wasn't adjusting well. Gail shut the freezer and reclaimed her seat at the table. How can I tell her there'll be no dance class come September? She'd registered for 2 business courses, deciding their future was more dependent on her getting a better job than on Vanessa's improving jet tech. I'm sorry, Mom. The chili's good. Vanessa looked at Gail, then back at her grandmother, who nodded her approval. Mom, when did it stop being Mommy? I'm going to make ham this weekend, a real Sunday dinner when I get off work. Potato salad, fresh string beans, now that'll be good. That Pat sure did love herself from some ham. You remember how she keep whacking off hunks? Loretta grinned. She put it on a hot dog bun. Girl didn't care long as she had herself some ham. She fished a lemon wedge out of her glass of iced tea. Yes, sirree. Gail, it had to be somebody else you saw in that room. Had to be. Y'all had y'all spats over the years, and Lord knows you haven't seen each other since Hector was a pup. But she never not speak to you. She had her ways, always wanting to be important and all, but I told you it was her, and I told you I don't want to talk about it. It was weeks since Gail had come home, foaming at the mouth after her encounter with Pat at West Center. Loretta wouldn't believe it was what it seemed, and Gail didn't care to dwell on the episode. She knew that if she had run into Pat last year, when she was still hot stuff and could brag about Ramsey landscaping the hotel, she wouldn't have hesitated to make herself known. But Gail's pride didn't let her say hello that day with a scrub brush in her hand, and give Pat the chance to return that slightly superior pity that Gail used to feel for her friends sometimes. No, that shoe pinched too much for Gail to wear. Let me read that again. So I'm getting what it's saying, but as I was reading it, I wasn't flowing with it. So she knew that if she had run into Pat last year, when she was still hot stuff and could brag about Ramsey landscaping the hotel, she wouldn't have hesitated to make herself known. But Gail's pride didn't let her say hello that day with a scrub brush in her hand and give Pat the chance to return that slightly superior pity that Gail used to feel for her friends sometimes. No, that shoe pinched too much for Gail to wear. Loretta sprinkled sugar on the lemon, bit down, and smacked her lips, and squeezed her eyes tight. Ah, my dessert. I'm busy. Loretta sprinkled sugar on the lemon, bit down, smacked her lips, and squeezed her eyes tight. Ah, my dessert. Some man pulled over with some pallets in his truck trying to talk to me. Sorry, let me be. I'm trying to read to my people. Mama, there's ice cream if you want dessert. Every night, she sucks on a stupid piece of lemon. Gail figured it was her mother saving money. Makes me feel guilty as sin. If I wanted ice cream, I'd get some, thank you kindly. Then Loretta stacked dirty plates, put them on a shelf in the refrigerator, and went into the living room. Without making a crack, Vanessa moved the dishes to the sink and filled the dishpan full of water. By the way, I won't be home for dinner tomorrow. Gail watched Vanessa's back for some reaction. We just got a big client, an international bank, so Jake and Michelle are taking us all out for dinner. Isn't that nice? Jake and Michelle? Vanessa swayed her narrow hips to the mocking sip song. Why should I think it's nice? I'm not going anywhere. And when did you start calling them by their first names? Without turning around, she dragged a dish rag around the plate. Gail had never spanked Vanessa, but right now she wanted to tan those skinny legs. Better be careful. You're not as grown as you think you are. Vanessa washed with no further comment while Gail made a bologna sandwich to take for lunch. She had debated whether to go. Gail hadn't done anything fun since before Ramsey was in the hospital. Denitha Hemphill, a paralegal at the firm who was one semester away from graduating law school at night, had been on Gail's case about attending. This afternoon, Denitha had concerned her in the conference room. Girl, you know it's a 4-star restaurant, and it's free. How can you say no? She brushed her braids behind her wide shoulders. They'll work it out on our hides once this business bank starts. Best partake while you're offered. Live large, get a sitter. That's what I'm doing. Jamal and Whitney still live. So will Miss Nessa. Denitha was a single mother, too, and Gail still couldn't wrap her lips around the term, but their kids provided a constant source of conversation about life outside the office. Sitting in the armchair at the head of the mahogany conference table seemed natural for Denitha. The imposing furniture in the dark paneled room was intended to dwarf mere mortals, but Denitha, big, square, and strong, carried enough confidence not to be fazed in the least. She twirled around, applied her posthumous lipstick in the beveled mirror behind her, and spoke to Gail's reflection. I'm sorry about your husband and all, but they say life is for the living. You best be about remembering what living is like, girlfriend, because it ain't going to wait on your feeling sorry for yourself brown behind. Gail caved in. I shouldn't be too late. Vanessa kept washing. I'll leave Gran some money and you can order pizza, okay? Yeah, and maybe if I'm a good girl, you'll bring me a doggy bag. That's enough. You act like I'm going out to punish you. I'm an adult, and I can go out without your say-so, damn it. Vanessa paused mid-plate and glanced over her shoulder at Gail. She had never heard her mother curse before. Gail glared back, and Vanessa returned to her task. I didn't make this mess, and I don't know what else to do. I can only fix what I can, and occasionally I deserve to have a good time, or at least try. I'm sorry you can't go to your old school with your friends. I'm sorry I can't send you to dance class. What? Vanessa spun around and faced her mother. What do you mean? I didn't want to tell you like this, Nessa, but if we're ever going to get out from under this mess, I have to go back to school, and I'm starting next month, business English and word processing. I'll be able to get a better job, maybe move up as the firm expands. Anyway, even with the job at the hotel, I can't afford to go to school and pay for your dance classes too. Besides, I wouldn't be able to get you there or back home because what? Because we live far away from all my friends? Because we live in a dump? Vanessa glared at her mother. Soap suds dripped down her arms and dissolved in a puddle at her feet. Bet your daddy ran away because you spent so much money and that's why we're broke now. Gail grabbed Vanessa's shoulders and shook. Don't you ever say betcha to me again. Do you hear me? That's why you're in this hellhole today. Because of your daddy's bets. When Gail let her go, Vanessa ran into the bathroom and slammed the door. Come out this minute, Gail shouted above the water Vanessa had turned on full force. She'll be out when she's ready. You can't make her no more than I can make you. She's just as pig-headed as you were, you know. Lordy, your temper. You lost it all when you married Ramsey, though. Became just as meek and mild as you please. Mama, I don't want to talk about me, and I sure don't want to talk about Ramsey. Vanessa Josephine Hiller, come out of this bathroom this instant. Do you hear me? Gail rattled the doorknob. I'm sure they can hear you across the street. I'm telling you, the more you yell, the longer she'll stay. Maybe I will have me some ice cream. It'll help me stay cool. 2 hours later, Vanessa emerged from the bathroom, showered, her hair a wet, tangled mess. She had polished her nails and a lot of her fingertips, bright red, a color she was expressly forbidden to wear. Vanessa sauntered to her bed in the alcove and sat on the side, blowing her handiwork dry, daring Gail to comment. Gail didn't look up from the news. After the weather, she roused Vanessa from her bed, marched her back into the bathroom, handed her the polish remover and some tissues, and stood, arms folded across her chest until the red nails were gone. I haven't even decided how to punish you yet, but right now I can't stand to look at you, so go to bed. But Mom, Gail held up her hand, don't even speak to me. The next morning, Vanessa feigned sleep when Gail kissed her goodbye. She is my child, just as stubborn as I was. Loretta shrugged and shooed Gail out the door. As usual, Gail was the first in the office. 6 weeks after she started, they gave her a set of keys and asked her to open each day. That made her feel important. Today, like every other day, she arrived just before 8, adjusted the thermostat, brewed coffee, neatly stacked magazines in the reception area, and cleared papers from the conference room. Then she checked her appointment book against Jake's and Michelle's to make sure that neither had slipped in a surprise meeting or lunch. At 8 on the dot, she retrieved messages from the service and turned on the phones for the day. When the secretaries arrived at 8:30, the place was rife with the aroma of Jamaican Blue Mountain. At 8:59, the associate dashed in and disappeared behind stacks of files. Depending on the day, Jake or Michelle were in the office by 9, or they had phoned from their first appointment. Denitha and the other paralegal traipsed in and out all day on a perpetual loop of county offices, courthouses, law libraries, and back to Cameron and Ware. Good morning, Gail answered the phone. She nodded and smiled as Michelle Ware came in the door, then handed the lawyer her messages. The rest of the day passed routinely. Cameron and Ware, more coffee, a trip to get pastries from the meeting at 10, then greeting more clients. Cameron and Ware, neatening the conference room, post-meeting, picking at her bologna sandwich. Cameron and Ware, calling for copier service, requesting a messenger. Cameron and Ware. A little after 4, Gail called home. Vanessa answered but handed the phone to her grandmother as soon as she recognized Gail's voice. She's fine. Been beating me at crazy eights and hearts all day. We're going to have our pizza and maybe a surprise for later. What kind of surprise? You'll see. If I told you, it wouldn't be a surprise now, would it? Don't do too much, Mama. Stop worrying about us. You have yourself a ball, baby. The restaurant was even better than Denitha's report. Their party was seated at a long table in the garden, surrounded by trellises thick as flowering vines. Eating out was definitely not in the budget, and Gail had almost forgotten what it was like. She laughed, easy and carefree. She wasn't Ramsey's wife. She wasn't Vanessa's mother. She was Gail. After dinner, Jake and Michelle gave their pep talk. They were so proud of their cup and the staff that helped make it possible. They promised raises, increased benefits, and called for their continued support in the busy months ahead. Dinner was outrageous. Gail felt giddy as Denitha pulled off. They'd gone in one car because it was more fun, and they were headed back to the office so Gail could get hers. I'm glad you made me go. And a raise is a hell of a lot better than my raspberry tort, and it was good. Of course, they'll figure out a way to tie it into our regular raise. Raise? I hadn't even thought about a raise. Haven't you been here about 6 months? Almost. Then you got one coming. Make sure you tell them you're going back to school. That kind of shit always makes you look good. They might even offer to pay part of your tuition. Continuing education makes a more valuable employee, blah, blah. That is, if you promise not to leave in the minute you finish your classes. It was almost 11:30 when Denitha pulled up next to Gail's car. They hung out in the parking lot a while, replaying the evening with editorial commentary, but Gail had to be at West Center at 6 in the morning, so they packed it in. Call me when you get home, Denitha said, then waited until Gail started her car and drove off. More money. If I keep the job at the hotel and figure a way for her to get home, Nessa can still have her dance classes. Gail yawned and pulled out of the lot. I bet I can ask one of the other mothers to keep her after class so I can pick her up. Then she rounded the corner, heading toward the apartment. The faint, woody scent of distant smoke seeped in through her closed windows. Wonder what's burning. More people linger in the street than she expected so late. Folks must be out because it's so hot. The neighborhood wasn't fancy, but it was respectable and quiet, sort of like St. Albans. What do I know about who's out at this time of night? Gail giggled. It's way past my bedtime. She turned onto her street and was met by smoke so strong it burned her eyes. Rivers ran at the curbs, and Gail crawled along the water-slick pavement, scanning the people, some in robes and pajamas, clustered under the hazy glow of the street lamps. Where's the fire? She spied police cars blocking the far end of the block and realized the hook and ladder was in front of her building. Silent screams rocketed through Gail's body. She threw the car into park in the middle of the street and shouted out, door wide open, engine running, "Please don't let it be true. It can't be." She stumbled a few feet, then stopped, paralyzed by the charred, smoldering skeleton, the remnants of home. The windows, dark, hollow sockets, dripped water like tears. Firefighters shielded in helmets and protective gear, lounged on axes, folded hoses, took notes like this was all normal, not the surreal nightmare Gail had entered. She clutched herself to keep from falling to pieces and hollered, "Vanessa! Mama!" Gail searched unfamiliar faces and screamed her heart out for them. A patrolman grabbed at her arms. "You got a little girl?" Gail nodded. "She's at the hospital. Come on, I'll take you." "Is she?" "I don't know how she is. They took her about an hour ago." My mother, she with Vanessa? Is she okay?" "Sorry, ma'am. That's all I know." Gail rocked and prayed in the back of the squad car, hand over her mouth to muffle the sobs. When they arrived, she searched in a frenzy for the handle. There aren't any. She had known it since she was 8, since Freddie. Hold on. The officer opened the door, and she took off up the ramp and through the swinging emergency entrance doors. "Where is she?" Wild-eyed, Gail grabbed a young man wearing blue scrubs and a disposable shower cap over his skull. "My little girl from the fire." Gail shoved the startled orderly aside and ran to the desk. "I have to see her. And my mother. Where are they?" A motley sea of faces, most of them in shades of brown, turned to see the commotion. Weekend standing room only was SOP in the Hammond Park Community Hospital emergency room. Gunshots were competed with colicky babies and food poisoning. Seniors, dizzy from the heat, lay on gurneys next to teenagers in labor. Tall metal fans noisily circulated hot air, rank with the smell of sweat, vomit, and disinfectant. "What's the name?" A bulky woman in a pale blue smock came up behind Gail and laid a calming hand on her shoulder. "Huh?" Gail whirled around. "Vanessa, my daughter's name is Vanessa Hillard. It couldn't have been long. They said she, pretty little thing, long ponytails, right?" The woman mopped sweat from her forehead with a brown paper towel. Fear snatched Gail's tongue and she nodded mutely. "They're working on her now. She jumped out a window. Good thing, too, or the smoke would have got her." She folded the towel and tucked it under her watch band. "What about my mama? Older lady? Little browner than me? Kind of reddish hair?" She would have been brought in with my daughter." "Oh, Lord." The aide turned away, couldn't look Gail in the eye. "You have to tell me." Gail grabbed the woman's sleeve. "Doctor will be with you soon, honey. He'll talk to you about it." "Mama!" Gail's knees buckled. The aide caught her around the waist. "She can't be." Gail shook her head frantically. She didn't hear right. "You're wrong." "I'm sorry, honey." The woman eased Gail into an empty chair. "Just wait here." "Mama's gone?" The words were nonsense, goobly-goop. She got up and tottered aimlessly, obviously to wary glances from those who wondered if she was a nutcase. "Vanessa?" Gail trembled violently and her field of vision shrank to a tiny black dot. She came to face with a doctor who assured her she was fine, but told her she needed to sign a consent form for Vanessa to have surgery. "Is she burned real bad?" He straightened up and took a step back. "No, that's the least of her problems. But when your daughter jumped, she fractured her right femur in 2 places just above the knee, shattered her right elbow, and dislocated several vertebrae in her lower back. We need to relieve the pressure on her spinal cord." Gail sat up. "Her spinal cord? Oh my God, she's paralyzed?" "She seems to have movement and feeling in her extremities, so we don't think she's paralyzed, but the sooner we go in, the better." Her x-rays also indicate some bone fragments sliced through part of the surrounding muscle tissue in her thigh. Thankfully, the laceration missed the femoral artery, but there's bleeding we need to stop as well. He took the stethoscope from around his neck and put it in his pocket. Gail struggled to digest the doctor's words. After the